Welcome to an episode of Palmer Village's Palmer Voices, a personal story project preserving artifacts and diverse personal accounts of life in the villages of Palmer. Stories of ordinary people are extraordinary. The history, the stories, and the artifacts from each village over the decades are what make Palmer unique. Brought to you by the Palmer Public Library, MPAC TV, and other local organizations. Funded in part by grants from the Leo S. Walsh Foundation and the Palmer Cultural Council, a local agency, supported by the Mass Cultural Council, a state agency. We hope you enjoy this Palmer story.
100 years in Palmer, and today it celebrated its centennial. Stasi Heropoulos has the story.
Esther Baker did the honors cutting the Tuesday Club's anniversary cake. Her mother was in the club, and her grandmother joined too in 1898. Esther joined 35 years ago.
We're very careful on the members, that they are congenial.
The Tuesday Club was founded in 1890 by 12 wives of wealthy merchants. Most members didn't work. They weren't allowed to. So they began meeting after lunch on Tuesdays to study the world, politics, art, literature, and current events. Club historian Jane Golis.
The noontime meal was the big time of the day, the big meal of the day, and then the men went back to work and would work, well, into the evening. And so the women were more or less by themselves or whatever social things they could do.
The Tuesday Club has a constitution setting membership at 12. No one is admitted unless a current member quits or dies. New members must be invited to join.
The club members get together and names are suggested, and then we have a vote as to which name should be asked.
The Tuesday Club has had 72 members since 1890, and once they join the club, they stay in it. 48, 49, even 50 years. The Tuesday Club has a president and vice president and a program committee. The group takes July and August off while the committee develops a theme for the coming year. Each member is assigned a topic. Then, on Tuesdays, she presents her research for discussion, and topics are thoroughly researched.
I would say that years ago it took months, really. But nowadays, I think a month's time would give you, we usually get books from the library.
The Tuesday Club, celebrating the first 100 years and toasting the next 100. Stasi Heropoulos, News Center 22, Palmer.
The Women's Tuesday Club is an intellectually curious group of open-minded, strong women who support and encourage each other. They share ideas and even grief when other members pass away. One member describes the current club as a close-knit group with a family vibe. My name is Lisa Gagne, here for Palmer Village's Palmer Voices. The members today that join me are Gretchen Ziegler, Donna Opper, and Cheryl Theophane. They have brought along several documents and pictures to share. These documents and pictures show events that have happened in the Women's Tuesday Club and the town of Palmer. Please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Ziegler. I grew up in Palmer, lived here for through many years, but for the last 45 years I've been living in New Hampshire. But my mother was a member of the Tuesday Club, and as I retired from teaching, they asked me if I'd like to join, so 24 years later, I'm still making the drive to come down and meet with these women.
I'm Cheryl Theophane. I grew up in Palmer, and I've lived here all my life, and I was asked to become a member of the Tuesday Club 24 years ago, and I've enjoyed every moment.
I'm Donna Opper. I'm originally from Palmer, moved away for a short while, but came back. I was asked to join the Tuesday Club in 1994, which I readily accepted, and have enjoyed myself ever since.
Gretchen, can you tell me more about the beginnings of the Palmer Tuesday Club?
They started in 1890. There was a movement across the country where women were getting together to form clubs and organizations to support themselves and learn more. There was no internet or even radio and TV back in those days, so the way to find out more was to share the information that the others brought to the meetings. So the 12 women started, and it's still a club of 12 women, and we get together and share information and good times.
Women had more spare time back then, so they had to leave their jobs when they got married. So this was a group of women that could become educated amongst themselves. Most of their husbands were the doctors or lawyers or professionals in town, and that's how most of the women started out in the club. It was very formal. They wore hats, gloves, and they had a tea time. And they had to go by their married name, Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Smith, and if you didn't use your married name, you were fined 1 cent. As time went on, they changed the fine to 50 cents. So for being absent, you also got fined. So it was a very serious club. Then finally the dues went up to $1. And the meetings were usually an hour and a half. And you had a secretary, a president, a treasurer, and a librarian. So it was a well-organized club.
What are some of the topics of the presentations that you might do?
Well, this year our theme is on the road again. So we've been to New Zealand and Australia. We are planning on going to a national park and to other states and places where people have enjoyed traveling. Other themes might be on books or movies or women who have been leaders and rulers in their country, wives of presidents. So we pick a theme and get to spend time learning about that.
Our meetings generally start with pleasant exchange between the ladies. We do have our tea time, as said, early, and then we have a meeting following Robert's rules, and then the person, which is the hostess of the day for the program, will begin her program, and then after that we linger for a little bit and still talk. One of the programs hosted by Pam Bilton for the Women's Tuesday Club on December 6, 1994. It was our annual Christmas party. And that year we were discussing women's firsts. And there's a very short list, some kind of interesting women's firsts I'd like to read. Clara Adams, who in the early 1900s flew around the world. Jane Addams, she was a female. She won the Peace Prize in 1931. Sadie Allen in 1886 went over Niagara Falls in a barrel. Sarah Askew, she designed a bookmobile for libraries. Mary Baker Anderson earned over $1 million in her racing career. The actress Anne Bancroft in 1986, with the dog sled team, walked to the North Pole. Ruth Cleveland, Grover's daughter, had a candy bar named after her, the Baby Ruth. Chris Crosby patented a brassiere made from 2 handkerchiefs and a ribbon, then sold the patent for $1,500. Ida Fuller received the first Social Security check of $22.54 in 1940. Just a short list of some of the women's firsts.
The Women's Tuesday Club members were very devoted and serious about their commitment and the membership participation.
In 1940, a member of the Women's Tuesday Club was Flora Hitchcock. she let the group know that she didn't think she was going to be able to participate in the coming year and that she wanted to resign. Well, that wasn't right by them. She had to find her substitute for her to take her place in the Tuesday Club. Not only did she have to do that, she had to, when she did come back later, she was assigned hostess duty for 3 times in October, twice in November, and once in February for the following year. So beware. Our dear friend, Mary Ellen Fineff Anton, was in the Tuesday Club with us until her passing. She had a program that year on the national parks, and when we arrived there, we found out she was supposed to have had chemo that day, but she let the doctor know in no uncertain terms that she had 11 other women waiting for her in her house, and she was not going to do that. So Mary Ellen took it quite seriously also.
Now there was a significant meeting in April of 1914 where they talked about women's suffrage and things like that. And from there on until the year 1920, the 19th Amendment finally gave the women the right to vote. Can you tell us a little bit more about how things evolved after that?
As I remember the history, they were seen now as an important group in town and a powerful group. And so they were asked to contribute to all kinds of causes that had something to do with women. So there were a lot of causes that came along. They were donating to Red Cross during Vietnam. They supported Project Hope, which was a ship that went around and had a full hospital set up and was taking care of the children in Vietnam that were getting injured. And today we still support organizations, the food bank, the Lions Club's programs, etc. So we still feel as if that's one of the things we should do.
Cheryl, can you elaborate on Irene Sherman?
Oh, Irene was a lovely person, and she had a wonderful voice. And when we would have Christmas parties, she would sing and play the piano with Donna, and it was wonderful. And she sang also at the Springfield Symphony. She was a wonderful member.
Now, Gretchen, there was another member, Jane Golas.
Jane was another one of our famous members. She started out her career as a nurse, but after she married her husband, raised her family, and became very much interested in history, particularly the history of Palmer. She, as a matter of fact, wrote our first history at the 100-year mark in 1990. She wrote 100 years of Tuesday Club. And she was known throughout Palmer as the Palmer historian. She did many of the projects, set up the historical organizations. And with another member, Sandy Noga-Nichols, did a study of the early houses in Palmer. She was one of our favorite members as long as she lived, and we were very sad at her passing.
Now, I also noticed the club had 2 significant milestones and celebrations. There was the Millennium Celebration and the 125-year celebration program.
If anyone remembers back to 2000, there was a great discussion about whether the world was going to end or what was going to happen to computers, because they were all set with 19 at blank blank for you to fill in. So we thought we should do a program on the year 2000 and looked back through the years at how we had increased our knowledge and the things that were different from comparing back to the time when the Tuesday Club was founded. And we had a lot of fun with the program that year. And then Sandy wrote up a history that covered the from 100 years to 125. And so our programs were along the line of, what had changed in the 125 years in the arts and sciences and our everyday life. So it was a very interesting program.
Now there's a bicycle picture on the cover. What's the significance of that?
Well, in the early years, some of the women rode their bicycles to programs and meetings. If they had to go a little bit further, many people lived off of North Main Street so they could walk to each other's houses. But some of the other people lived a little further away and it was a little bit far to walk, so they would ride their bicycles. Yeah. Sometimes big wheels in the front and a little one in the back.
Now, present day, the Women's Tuesday Club. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
We have our meetings on Tuesday at the members' homes, and we meet in the fall and the spring. And it's very festive every time we meet. We have, like Donna said, a small social hour and a dessert and tea or coffee, and we always have chocolate. I think they do that to keep me happy. But it's a wonderful time.
Now, how did COVID affect your activities?
It was a bit challenging, to say the least. It was taking all precautions. Meetings were done according to the guidelines with masks, and some people would bring their own lunch. Well, everyone brought their own lunch, wrapped themselves and prepared, and distances were kept. When it got quite bad, we decided to try Zoom meetings, which served a purpose of seeing each other and getting the program done, but it's never the same as being in person, catching up with people. I looked through the note journal that we have for the secretary writes what happened each time at each meeting, and I didn't have the book that included 1918 and 1919 when the Spanish flu was very active, taking so many people's lives. I would imagine that they didn't have meetings during that time, but I'm still curious to find out. Here's what we found in the meeting minutes. It appears that the club continued to meet regularly through the 1918 pandemic, only occasionally missing meetings during that period. Specifically, the recorded minutes of October 15, 1918 read, "Owing to the ban placed upon gatherings on account of the epidemic of influenza, the first club meeting of the season was deferred." Throughout the year, other meeting minutes read, quote, "No meeting was held on the above date due to the illness of several members," end quote.
Now, Sandy Nichols, she was a significant member for a lot of different reasons. Can you elaborate on how she affected the group or your memories of Sandy, maybe? Would you like to start, Donna?
I think we all have really fond memories of Sandy. She was our glue that kept us stuck together. She was an organizer. She was well-educated, worldly versed, traveling where she lived and where she and her husband David traveled. She just always had an answer for anything, and I mean that in the most complimentary way. I think we all really had great respect for all of her talents and her personalness to each one of us. She made sure she got to know everybody and make a phone call if there was something she knew was going on in your family. She was just the consummate women's club member.
She grew up in Palmer at Noga's Turkey Farm, and she would tell us how many turkeys she had slaughtered in the day. It was so funny, too. I mean, here was this elegant woman and telling us how in the morning she would go out and feed the turkeys and what she would have to do. And and we would just get such a chuckle out of her.
She had quite the work ethic.
She did.
Yes.
And Gretchen, can you elaborate a little bit more on her schooling?
As the oldest of 4 girls in her family, she took that responsibility very seriously. She went to Wheaton, she majored in economics, very bright, and on graduation she went to New York City. And there she met a man from Australia, whose father was an American Marine in World War II and mother was an Australian. And well, as they say in the story, they decided to get married, went down to the city clerk's office on their lunch hour and got married. And she not wanting to spend any money she didn't have to, you know. But they lived happily ever after. They had a business and would frequently go to Australia as well. So
A great adventure.
yes, yes, she was full of adventure.
Now we're going to listen to this poem, Ode to Sandy, written by our member, Teresa Abbott.
Ode to Sandy. She moves with purpose, assured, disciplined, a force in the room. She smiles and takes her seat angled toward us, with the small table beside her, ready to present her knowledge, her discoveries, her love of the world and all that it holds. She wears shades of rust, burnt orange, brown that complement her hair, always with a scarf, a soft and flowing ribbon of autumn surrounding her neck. Below, encircling her hips, the angled belt with a prominent hook closure, a signature of her artistic sensibility. She sits here, holding unofficial court in the group that she loves, that she's watched transform as months turn to years, years turn to decades. A traveler of the world, she shares found treasures in her singular way, adding more to the picture, filling in the spaces, giving it dimension. And so, tucked in around her table, we hear her laugh, floating over our tea and our coffee and our easy conversation, as months again turn to years and years turn to decades.
So what's in the future for the Tuesday Club?
We're down one right now, and we've got several people in mind that we're going to invite to come and be members to make up our 12th member. I hope it continues for another 100 years, that the women of Palmer and surrounding towns have the opportunity to share as we have.
Yes.
And continue to educate themselves in issues that are important to them, and eat lots of chocolate.
Your group sounds like a really fun, inquisitive bunch, and you keep each other on your toes, so good for you. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is written that to speak the name of the dead is to make them live again. Therefore, I would like to call the roll of our past membership. 1. Ada Ball. 2. Clara B. Ellis. 3. Esther Fisk. 4. Lizzie G. Hellier. 5. Mary A. Holden. 6. M. E. Knox. 7. Mary A. Shaw. 8. Mary H. Taft.
9. Sarah S. Wilkins. 10. Pamela V. Willis. 11. Louisa Woolrich. 12. Emma L. Chandler. 13. Linda H. Brigham. 14. Mira K. Stone. 15. E. M. Gamwell. 16. Lizzie Hastings.
17. Abby Wing. 18. Harriet Thayer. 19. Hattie Loomis. 20. Minnie McGregory. 21. Kate Buck. 22, Ellen Leach. 23, Kate Matthews. 24, Anna Fuller.
25, Winifred Bodefish. 26, Anna Barton. 27, Emily Rice. 28, Flora Hitchcock. 29, Belle Carroll. 30, Lucy Hamilton. 31, Esther Gage. 32, Bertha Hastings.
33, Nancy Carl. 34, Georgetta McIntyre. 35, Blanche Rathbone. 36, Marion Moore. 37, Ruth Keith. 38, Ada Rathbone. 39, Myrtle Hodgkin. 40, Mira Smith.
41, Catherine Holbrook. 42, Annie Slaney. 43, Edith Fonts. 44, Alice Childs. 45, Ruth Alden. 46, Mabel Hamilton. 47, Pearl Tabor. 48, Daisy Dowling.
49, Hazel Hobson. 50, Bertha Osterheld. 51, Rachel Doyle. 52, Annie Rathbone. 53, Mabel Slazinski. 54, Adele Hall. 55, Edna Walker. 56, Doris Thatcher.
57, Esther Baker. 58, Mary Surd. 59, Margaret Ziegler. 60, Betty Scudder. 61, Grace O'Neill. 62, Bernice Fonts. 63, Sylvia Crane.
64, Alice Turley. 65, Barbara Holbrook. 66, Harriet West. 67, Marjorie Chapin. 68, Jane Golis. 69, Connie Chase. 70, Marion Crozier.
Some former members are not deceased. We include their names as eternal members in the books of our Tuesday Club history.
71, Ann Turley. 72, Ann Heropoulos. 73, Irene Sherman. 74, Sandy Nichols. 75, Lila Hendigas. 76, Bev Krasnovic. 77, Pam Bilton.
79, Helena Bland. 82, Cecilia Nichols. 83, Carol Roy. 84, Lois Reynolds. 85, Lorraine Novak. 86, Karen Novrichuk. 87, Mary Anton.
Equally important, or one might say even more important, is the roll call of our present club membership. To quote Emily Dickinson, "A word is dead when it is said, some say. I say it just begins to live that day." 78, Donna Opper. 80, Gretchen Ziegler. 81, Cheryl Theophane. 88, Nancy Bauer. 89, Sue Bussell. 90, Deb Thompson. 91, Terry Abbott. 92, Gloria Burns. 93, Barbara Larkin. 94, Marie Lemoyne. 95, Cynthia Pichota. 96, Deb Christensen.
This has been another recording of Palmer Village's Palmer Voices, brought to you by the Palmer Public Library
in collaboration with the Leo S. Walsh Foundation, MPAC TV, Palmer Historical and Cultural Center, Palmer Historical Commission, Palmer Cultural Council, Mass Cultural Council, and Elbow Plantation Historical Society. To become a part of tomorrow's History Today, contact the Palmer Public Library to share your Palmer story. If you know someone whose story should be preserved, we'd love to hear about it. For more information, visit our website at palmerlibrary.org/palmervoices.